Why, hello, ladies and gentlemen. Lo and behold, me, Kuzcopia, dressed in formal garbs, one would say, in order to give an impression of myself, being older and far wiser, far more responsible than I actually am, and ruining it by chewing gum. I come here today to tell you a tale as old as time. And I say as old as time in regards to the issues that I've had that I never expected to have in the 21st century, which is something annoying people say, and that is what I have been made today. Annoying. These unfamiliar citizens, this unfamiliar scenario belongs to new accommodation. See, it all began a few months ago, or even just 1 month ago. It feels like years. A month ago, month and a half, those who used to call themselves owners of the labor of my efforts released me from my duties, unbinding me from their servitude. As such, I sought to find cheaper accommodations, which I did. I like it a lot more. As I experienced a lack of binding professional relationships that some call jobs, it was an experience I expected to last a lot longer. That would not be so, but it was my expectation, and such I made preparations for it. The contract for this beautiful apartment has a 3 months notification period, which I did not worry about, for I planned on at least having 2 months to escape this beautiful country. I set up an internet contract, even knowing that it might take 1 month for this beautiful country to move its butt and set it up. Such did not happen. I will get to it. Likewise, I went through the trouble of setting up with the electricity company and so forth, and obviously dealing with the job agency and all that it required of me. What is about to follow in the story is a series of timings, misgivings that would only serve the finest of narratives, being carefully woven to prick at my ability to handle bad news. I ended up calling them a stream, long range and durable stream of bad news that I could handle. For bad news that you cannot handle will not wear you down. They will just break you down. And then you get up and you go forward. But bad news that wear you down, those keep you feeling hunched up. Now, it all began with the good news, right? As all downfalls do. I was offered a legally binding professional relationship, also known as job, coming from the colder and higher lands of Scotland. The offer, though, came with the request that I should hurry my ass up and not take 2 months, but rather 2 weeks. I asked for that to be 1 month. And set myself to prepare my move, my extraction from this beautiful and mighty country. Now, these are the steps that I had to procure. 1, obviously, prepare things on the side of Scotland that involved finding a place where I could rest my head in peace, quiet, and safety. 2, handle my extraction here from Germany. That included going to the town council. Let's subdivide that step. Going to the town council, fulfilling a registration of exits. They would then give me a confirmation of that. I would then take that to all the places to which I am contracted upon in order to end the services, right? That included electricity company, health insurance, and my good old friend Vodafone, the amazing place that has never given me good news in 1 year and a half of procuring them for something as simple as information. So, It all began when I found out that I could only go to the town council 1 week before departure. So not only did I feel unfair towards my arrangement with my future employers, my to-be masters, for having unbeknownst to me, I had unknowingly misled them. I did not need a month. In fact, I could not actually properly take care of my departure from Germany until 1 week beforehand. Now, I found out that this was, in fact, a peculiarity belonging to my particular council hall, town hall. If I had been living in another city, I would have had 4 weeks or even more or less. Even still, I decided that I would then not be able to deal with this departure the way that most people do, which is to go to the town hall or even just mail them the form, the registration form, and then they mail back the confirmation and you copy it, and then you write a letter to each of the companies with a copy of the registration so that they can end your contract quite kindly and reflexively. Then they mail letters back telling you how much you're going to still pay or what happens next, etc., right? And all of this happens in the process of 2 weeks. That's all you really need, right? So I am leaving on a Wednesday. I was leaving on a Wednesday because you are watching this way, way after I've landed on Scotland, most likely, because I forgot to get there. Let's not get there, because what I was describing is what went down today. What happened to the internet that should have been connected 1 month after I moved into this place, and thus given me at least 3 weeks of unlimited and proper internet usage? Well, what happened was that the man, the third party that Vodafone hires to actually set up the DSL connection, showed up, or rather did not show up. He was supposed to show up between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. of a particular day. I was up at 7 a.m. and I waited. Well, I did not wait by the door like some hungry wolf. I was doing my things, but I was paying attention. I even made sure not to have my phones on so I could hear the doorbell fine and etc. At 11 a.m. I get a phone call from a private number. I pick it up and I say, "Hello." The person immediately shuts it off. And then 1 hour later, I get a text message saying that I was not found home by this third-party employer, and thus I would need to call them back to reschedule. When I called them back to reschedule, they offered me a new setup date of exactly 1 week and a half later. That would give me roughly 6 days of reliable and unlimited internet usage, to which I said, no thanks. So I have been going on with my internet diet, consisting of using my phone data plan as a Wi-Fi hotspot and connecting my laptop to it. It turns out that in my very first video, my prime complaint ended up being my main rescue-y thing. The contract I was duped into signing onto, the very expensive thing that I have been paying over 60 euros per month for, binding contract that I could not even touch until 1 year had passed. That thing included 20 plus gigs of 3G of internet, so I could at least keep up with my writings and keep up with some of my online chatting to stave off the complete loneliness of isolation. Oh, and obviously to handle job interviews, and I could take care of all of that. Yeah. So, rolling back, usually you would send these things to the companies by letters and then wait for the replies and blah, 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 but I could not do that. My apologies, I forgot another step. With the job agency, the job agency scheduled a 7:30 a.m. meeting they scheduled 3 weeks in advance, but it was on the day next to the day where my soon-to-be masters of my labor completely officialized the job offer. Because I was going to take a friend to be my translator with the job agency, I decided to make a sudden effort to try and skip the interview, because if you are employed, you don't have to go to the job agency and explain your unemployment, for it is no longer an existing condition. Now, I had my friend call. They informed me what to do, which was to send a private message online through their online portal to my handler, private handler, and then just not show up and it would be okay. I did that and started preparing myself in my voyage to Scotland. And then I did not notice a second letter, making another scheduled interview, because apparently my online portal message went completely unseen or something. I still don't know. As of this moment, I have a strong suspicion that the situation is, that the matter is resolved, but I am not sure. Because I found that letter for the second interview on 6 p.m. of the day that I was supposed to show up for the interview. And they were threatening that they would not pay me unemployment unless I, explained. So I sent them a letter explaining, and I sent them an email explaining, and I sent another message on the online portal, and I've yet to hear a response, which normally in Germany means that it's all okay. They usually will not reply to your queries or messages if it's understood and the matter is resolved. Anyway, finally, we come back to this day, because today is not 1 week from my leaving day. Today is 6 days before my leaving day. And why, you may ask? Because yesterday, the town hall was closed. The whole day closed. In the middle of the week, a Wednesday, just the whole day closed. It was wonderful to find that out. Anyway, I went out today to deal with all of this, and I left my home at 8:30 a.m. and I have now returned at 3:30 p.m. I am dressed as such, even though I don't think it helped much. So this was my adventure. I went to the town hall and I was met with a big crew of people. Now, since the electricity company closes at around midday, I was immediately worried. But most of them gave me pass and told me to go in. I don't know how they caught whiff of my desperation, of my foreign cathartic crisis, but they did, and they waved me over, and I bypassed like 6 people, and this was not a misunderstanding on their part. On my part, like, they were literally like, it's you, go, and I'm like, okay. Although there were 2 doors, and the first time I went to the town council, they told me to use only B. This time I was told to use A or B, and I expressed interest in using a B, but then allowed an old lady to go in, and then they all just waved me to go after the old lady into B. Maybe they all needed A. I just took the win and ran for the hills, or rather the electricity company. So I got to the electricity company, and I dealt with them, and it was fine. I mean, there's a bit of bad news, because apparently they needed my new address to send me a bill after they get the electricity counter on the last day, which is something I can't do. I don't have access to the electricity counters. So I will have to inform my landlord to give them the electricity counter, then they will send me the bill. And because I wasn't ready for this need, I had to tell them he can just use my address, because I will register a forwarding service with Deutsche Post, with the National Posting Service here in Germany. You can register a redirection service, and you'll pay a monthly fee, and that's it. And I was hoping I would need it, but hey, better safe than sorry, at least. That's how I looked at it. Not as a failure, but as further motivation to do the proper thing, right? To do things properly, right? So then finally, I went back home to get my tablet, because I had forgotten about it. If I had it, I could have looked up my address in Scotland for the next month, but I had forgotten it at home. So I went back for it. When I arrived at home, I found out that I had 1 more pen. So I left home with this pen. I arrived home with these 2 pens. I don't know who, where, when I stole this one. I don't know how, but it happened. And funny enough, it's not the first time this happens. Friends of mine that witnessed as I back in my university days, there was a time where I got a 6 out of 20 grade that would have had me fail a subject, and I went in to have a meeting with the teacher and raise that grade, and I managed to raise it up to 13 or something, and I stole his pen accidentally. So I don't know what it is. I mean, obviously I know it's nervousness of the likes that has gotten me out of my current character, where I am speaking so flowery, which I will explain presently. So I left the electricity company, I came back home, grabbed my stuff, and I grabbed the bus to this little town called Pinneberg, where I would talk to my health insurance. That went well. I found the health insurance, I found a lady. Again, no English, I used my translator. By the way, I was using a translator from the phone. Every time I needed to say something, I would type on it, and I had some translations ready, some key phrases. Because I am who I am, obviously, although I have the translator app offline, I didn't have it ready because I didn't find it convenient enough. I can't translate several paragraphs at the same time. So I had this picture with some choice translations, in which I would say, "Hi, I'm leaving Germany next week. I want to end the service. I have the registration here, blah, blah, blah." So I'm on the health insurance. I take care of this. The lady writes a letter for me. I sign it, and I go away. And this was 11 a.m. And I'm like, oh, man, I'm going to be home by time for lunch. All the difficult stuff is done. All I have to do now is go to the Vodafone shop, where I know a guy who speaks English and already knows my situation, and he already told me. All I need is the registration. I get there, and he takes care of stuff. So I'm like, yes, awesome. So I go catch my bus, right? Now the bus is one station away from the train station, which I would need to go to the place where the Vodafone shop is. 4 stations after, I kind of get a sense that maybe I'm not in the right place, or on the right bus, or on the right direction. Turns out I wasn't in the right direction. But I figured, well, then I'll just go back to my home where I caught the bus to Pinneberg, and I'll catch the train from there. But it didn't go there either. Apparently it's some kind of bus that has different paths depending on the schedule. Like, I've never seen anything like that. But yeah, I reached the end. I left. I confirmed that it was going to go back to Pinneberg, and I walked back in, and the driver was super confused, and I was like, if I could speak German, I would explain, oh, my mistake, wrong direction, I'll just go back. But I didn't, so he said, I was like, silly me. Anyway, sat down, waited the 30 more minutes, back to Pinneberg, got the train, went to Vodafone, got there. My guy wasn't there because it was completely lunchtime. There was one guy attending to like 3 people. I waited, talked to the guy. He's like, okay, give me the registration. I opened my bag. I don't have my registration. In fact, the plastic kind of binder that I had all my important paperwork for that day, that I carefully selected everything I needed, and I put it that. I would take it out, and then I have an extra binder with like miscellaneous stuff that people might need, because you never know. I didn't have it. I realized that I had left it back at the health insurance place. I went back to the train. And I traveled back to Pinneberg. Then by bus. Then I walked to the health insurance place, where the lady quickly just, as soon as she saw me, reached back, here you go, She said some comments. I laughed because she was laughing. I guessed it was a joke, and I laughed, yeah. And I took my stuff and I left. Walked, train, back to Vodafone. Had to meet another guy. My guy was still not there. Explained him the situation. He did the thing, and he also told me that, because I asked him, how much would I need to pay to break the contract and blah, blah, blah. And he said he didn't know. Vodafone would be in contact with me sometime next week by letter or phone. And I told him, but I will be gone at 26th. You're going to send a letter? And he said that they will probably call. And I said, but I don't speak German. And he said, yes, I wrote that down. And that does not soothe my conscience, because I got a call from Vodafone 3 days ago, and it was from a lady that didn't speak English. So, happy times still coming. But at least I endeavored, and I got everything taken care of. What more can you want? It's been a very good day. And why am I talking like this? Because throughout all of this waiting and going around, bus riding and train navigating, I was reading basically, and I was reading from someone who writes in a very proper way, let us say that. Good times are coming though. Good times are coming. No longer shall the language barrier pierce me. But I will say though, as I leave my eulogy, I would like to leave my eulogy to all of this. For life has been tough, and not just because of the language barriers. You see, for reasons that I will not get into, for they are long and confusing to explain, for my life is a long and confusing to explain. It's a non-ending adventure of why, how did that happen, etc. Life has been tough, but it has been good. I met great people here. I made many good friends. They have helped me both practically and just by, being my friends and being happy and making fun of me for all of this. But also those who have helped pierce the language barrier and deal with them. Life was tough here, but it was good. My life here, this past year, was the first time I had to deal with rental contracts, phone contracts, health insurance contracts, social security and unemployment benefits and all that kind of jazz. And I had to deal with all of it, tax returns, taxes, all of that. I had to deal with all of it for the first time in my life. Without any coaching and in a language I did not understand. So things were tough, but they were good. For I met great people here, great friends. I will treasure forever, even if they're glad to get rid of me. I have made great friends here and I've had a great time. Even if it was tough, it's been great, actually. Looking back upon all of this, it was a good time. I could easily stay here for longer. But at the same time, I welcome the new adventure. And I wish to see how the colder and higher lands of Scotland will welcome me. And what adventures await me there. What people I might befriend there. What stories I will hear. And what experiences I shall share. This is Kuzcopia, signing off out of this beautiful country for the last time. Auf Wiedersehen.